Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, welcome to my very first retro review omnibus. Here I'll be setting a theme, collecting past retro reviews, and putting it all into one not so tiny little package. For my very first omnibus, I couldn't think of anything better to start with than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles was a big part of most 80s and 90s kids' childhood, and man oh man were there a lot of good Ninja Turtle games out there. In this video here, we'll be taking a look at Ninja Turtle games on the NES, the Super Nintendo, and the Sega Genesis. I hope you guys enjoy! Turtle Power! Cowabunga! Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, I've been doing this YouTube thing for a couple of years now, and I've done a lot of reviews, but how have I not even mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this entire time? As far back as I could remember, I freaking loved the Ninja Turtles. I believe everyone fell in love with the franchise when that animated series made its debut in late 1987. It was a great cartoon with one of the catchiest theme songs to ever exist. So of course, this led to action figures, arcade games, and movies, and man, it just really took off. Like I said, as a kid, I loved the franchise. I had some of the toys, I had the pajamas and slippers, and all of that stuff. I'm really thankful for all the cool stuff my parents got me as a kid. I love them, and they love me, which is why they got me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Video games? Ninja Turtles? All in one tiny little package? This has got to be like the best thing ever, right? Well, it's been many years since I've played this, but let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is Konami's 1989 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. So, the Turtles are on a mission. They have to save April O'Neil, rescue Splinter, and defeat a lot of bad guys along the way so they can get the Life Transformer gun from Shredder so they can turn Splinter back into human form. Let's go ahead and start playing. Look how cute our little Leonardo is. Oh my god! What a great way to start off a video game, getting hit by a one-hit KO. So if any of your Ninja Turtles get killed at any point, you can't play as them until you rescue them later on, or get a game over. Since I just started playing, I'm gonna go ahead and hit that reset button. We restart, and we're going down these sewers, where you'll see this game is a 2D side-scroller, for the most part. We start off playing as Leonardo, but you can switch to Raphael, Michelangelo, or Donatello at any time. Each of them plays slightly different from each other. Leonardo has a sword that gets some pretty good distance on enemies. Raphael has his sais, and Michelangelo has his nunchucks, but both Mikey and Raphael hardly have any distance with their attacks, which causes them to kinda suck in this game. Donatello has the best weapon, as his bow not only has the longest reach, but it also does the most damage. Little bit of trivia, my favorite Ninja Turtles in order are Raphael, Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Donatello. Unfortunately, that's the same order of worst to best character to play as. I don't want to play as Donatello, I want to play as Raphael, he's a freaking badass! This sucks! If you use some of the sub-weapons like the boomerang or ninja stars though, I guess it won't matter who you pick. Anyway, as we go through the stages of this game, we come across a lot of weird enemies. We get our standard ones you'd expect, like the Mousers or Foot Clan ninjas, but then you get these things called Stick-em-up? Yeesh. There's also this Human Torch asshole who goes by the name Fire Freak? What's his deal? An ex-pyromaniac from Brooklyn, this hot dog takes careful aim launching fireballs that turns into clones of himself? Hot dog? Other characters like this giant frog is simply known as Giant Frog, and this chainsaw maniac is known as Chainsaw Maniac. This robot-looking thing is named, well, just Robo. Trying to find more info on some of these crazy enemies, the only thing I could come up with is I'm pretty sure this guy is supposed to be Rat King. Every other ridiculous enemy is just, well, a ridiculous enemy. Back to the game though, we quickly get our first boss fight with Bebop. He's not too hard, just make sure you keep your distance. We'll continue our adventure going through sewers and warehouses until we eventually find Rocksteady. He's not too hard to fight either, especially if you cheese it like I did. April O'Neil is saved and we continue on to our next mission, the Dam. The first area isn't too bad, but goddamn these freaking jumps. Throughout this game there's a lot of spots like this where it just sucks trying to get over. Gah! Damn! Ugh! Once you eventually get through this section, you'll reach the underwater level. This level is infamous for being hard. It's probably what the game is best known for. The swimming is kind of wonky, you're kind of slow and you slightly drift too. The goal of this level is to disarm all the bombs without being killed. Doesn't sound too hard until you realize the timer on the bottom. Swim, turtles, swim! You gotta be really careful here too because these electric barriers and electric seaweed hurts you really bad. Since all the turtles play the same underwater, I'm just gonna use Mikey and Raphael since I don't care if they die. Ah! Ew! Oh, for Christ's sake! I only got one bomb left to disarm. Shit! Game over! All my Ninja Turtles are dead! But I do have a continue. And of course it starts me all the way over here! Gah! Well, now that I know where all the bombs are, I easily beat this level with 32 seconds to spare. And if you think that was hard, well, you probably haven't played the rest of the game. We get a cutscene where we find out that Splinter has been kidnapped. Now we got a giant map, a turtle van, and a hell of a lot to do. Prior to playing this now, this was the furthest point in the game I could reach as a kid, just because I always got lost. Not today though. Today I am determined. So, as we cruise around we see these barricades. We gotta blow them up, but we need some missiles. Let's go into these buildings and find some. There's a lot of freaking bad guys in here. And you know, one thing you'll notice that happens a lot in this game is that as soon as you enter an area, you are instantly attacked. The game constantly bamboozles you into taking damage. Oh god, another awkward jumping level. Ah, bloody hell. Phew, made it. Oh, another one? No matter how I jump, I just can't do it. But if I just simply press left and walk, I somehow just get through it just fine. This stupid game. We grab our missiles and exit the building. Now we can blow up some barricades. We can also shoot down these turtle squishing mobiles, but I'll save my ammo. The turtle van can still shoot regular bullets, but they hardly do enough damage. I feel like it's better to just run away. A little trick here too is that if you exit the turtle van, sometimes those Foot Clan vehicles disappear. But I'm not gonna risk it. At least the Foot Clan guys I can just run on over. So after going through more buildings, I eventually reached this one. I go through it only to find out it's a dead end. I tried jumping across, but it just takes me to the outside of the building. Like, way outside. I guess I was supposed to go into the other building instead. How the hell was I supposed to know that? What a waste of time! I'm lost, but these buildings look important. I'm trying to see what's in here, but damn it, I keep getting knocked off the building and having to start over. I found a couple of extra missiles, so I suppose it's not a total waste. After exploring this map for way too long, I eventually find a path I haven't taken. I guess I should have been paying more attention to the map in my pause menu. In this building, it's a lot of the same old shit. Awkward platforming and a shitload of enemies. My turtles are beat up pretty bad, but I make it to the end of the sewers. Hey, a full pizza! Max health! Pro tip, if you re-enter the sewers, the pizza will reappear. I'm getting all of my turtles back to full health. Let's freaking finish this! After some annoying level sections, we make it to the rooftops where we get ambushed by Mecha Turtle! Oh shit, he transformed! Yeah! I saved Splinter! The day is saved! Oh wait, there's more? That already took me like forever! How much longer is this game? So now we get to make our way through this airport as we search for the Turtle Blimp. We go through a bunch of really difficult little platforming sections. All of these areas are crowded with enemies and hazards. At least we get to see what the grappling hook does. There's 18 of these hazardous areas we have to go through until we beat the level. It sucks. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit! Oh god, it's a giant Mauser! What's the trick to beating him? You just stand underneath him and shove your stick down his throat. Boom! This guy is defeated. we get a cutscene showing all the turtles getting into the blimp. With all the awful crap I've been through, I'm just ready for this game to end, but unfortunately, I still got a ways to go. A nice level where you control the blimp would be a great breakup in gameplay, but nope, the blimp was literally just a cutscene. We're now in, I'm assuming, the Foot Clan's base, and we have to make our way to the Technodrome. Of course, this area is a pain in the ass too. I'm supposed to find the Technodrome down one of these sewers, and of course I run into a dead end. Ugh! There's a lot of annoying enemies here too, like this hedgehog guy or these bug assholes. Actually, all the enemies here seem really weird, very outer space-like. Anyway, after going through more sewers, I finally make it through the right door and go face to face with the Technodrome. And god, this fight sucks too. You gotta aim for the eye of the Technodrome while also fighting off bad guys and bullets. You break parts of the machine, which helps, but it's still a pain in the ass. Again, use Donatello and his bow to poke the eye and you'll eventually win.
I did it! Game's over, right? Right?
No, of course not. We keep going. At least this time there's no overworld map or anything, it's just a straight up 2D level. And I'll be honest, I'm spent. Maybe it's because I've never mastered this game, but the level designs and massive amounts of enemies with cheap hits, it just really wears you out. And this last level shows you no mercy as well, especially with these guys flying around. They take too many hits to kill, and I have no way of passing them without getting hurt. And the worst thing that could happen has happened. I reached the final boss of the game, Shredder, but all of my turtles are weakened. A single hit will kill any of them. Well, shit, I'm gonna do what I can.
I did it! Holy freaking shit, I did it! I beat the game! I can stop playing now! Yeah!
Shredder is defeated, Splinter gets turned back into a human, and April suggests we celebrate with pizza. Forget that, I'm celebrating by turning this damn game off.
So now that I beat the game, how do I feel about it?
Listen, I love the Ninja Turtles as much as the next 90s kid, but this game just doesn't do it for me. I just don't find it fun. Konami must have been aware of this too because the following Turtle game is nothing like this. This game is just way too hard. But don't get me wrong, the game isn't bad because it's hard because it's bad. I'm playing as the freaking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and I feel like a chump getting beat up by a bunch of jobber enemies. The screens are just full of them and the respawn rate on these are just as bad as the Ninja Gaiden games. The enemies hurt you with a lot of cheap hits and it's really hard to defend yourself in this game. I don't know if enemies just have too much health or if the turtles just don't deal out enough damage. Maybe it's both. Like I mentioned at the beginning, Donatello is the only turtle I like playing as because he can actually fight off the horde of enemies that come your way. Heaven forbid you have to use one of the other turtles at any point because you're just going to get your ass handed to you if you do. It's not just the damage the enemies dish out, it's the placement too. It's really aggravating trying to make a certain jump only for an enemy to surprise attack you or entering a new screen just to get attacked right away. These random shitty gap jumping areas I can also do without. How the hell can these turtles jump 50 freaking feet in the air, but not jump over a small gap? I'm fine with difficult games, but I like fair difficulty. And glitchy jumps that require me to backtrack through already terribly designed levels is not fun. This game does have its upsides though. The graphics aren't too bad. The Ninja Turtles look like the Ninja Turtles. The Technodrome looks awesome. And I like the little cutscenes. A lot of the enemies look kinda scratchy, but I'll forgive it since this was an earlier NES title. The background music is pretty catchy here too. It's probably my favorite thing about the game. And while the platform gameplay really frustrates me, I'm impressed with how much Konami tried to mix up the formula. There's an overworld map, you actually get to drive the turtle van, and there's even an underwater level. None of these aspects I feel are fully utilized, but it's still pretty neat nonetheless. So, I've heard some people talk about how much they like this game, and if you do, more power to you. As for myself, as much as I played this game as a kid, I never really enjoyed it. I just played it a lot because I wanted to beat it. Plus, back in the day, we didn't have a bunch of games to play, just the few that my parents got me. As an adult, I still didn't really have fun with this game. If I could change two things about this game, the first would be that I'd make the Ninja Turtles have a little bit stronger of an attack, and the second would be that there would just be a little less enemies. I feel that's what's really holding this game back from being on the same standard as some of the NES's top golden games. For me, the best way to describe this game would be almost fun.
But hey, these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? You agree? You think I'm full of shit? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, did any of you guys see the new trailers for the upcoming Ninja Turtles Beat 'em Up?
We're getting a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game titled Shredder's Revenge, and it's beautiful. It looks like it's taken a strong inspiration from the Turtle games of the late 80s, early 90s, and it's even got great retro-styled animations. But when you're getting a game developed by the same people who made Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game, I wouldn't expect any less. It's also being produced by .emu, who produced Windjammers 2, Wonder Boy, and Streets of Rage 4. Shredder's Revenge has the potential to be a really great high-quality product, and I'm super excited for this game to release, whenever the hell that may be.
I, of course, loved the Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. I had the toys, I had the VHSs, and anything else that was Ninja Turtle branded that I could get my little paws on. And after seeing that trailer for Shredder's Revenge, it got me thinking about the old Ninja Turtle games. So I thought, hey, why don't I do a series dedicated to those awesome Ninja Turtle games of the 8-bit and 16-bit era? It just seems like it'd be fun to do. And for today, I'll be looking at the NES port of the arcade title. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game.
So before I continue, like I said, this game is a port of an arcade title. I'd review the arcade version itself, but I think the NES version just has more to offer. The arcade version was released in 1989, while the NES version came out a year later. Technically, since this is the second Turtles game to release on the system, it gets that awkward name of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game.
And if you want to check out my thoughts on the first Ninja Turtles game, I already have a review for that. As for this game here, Turtles 2 the arcade game, let's go ahead and jump into it.
The story here is that April O'Neil and Master Splinter get captured by the evil Shredder. The Turtles are now on a mission to rescue their friends and stop Shredder, Krang, and other crazy villains.
There's not much to it, and if the story sounds familiar, it's because it's the plot for every single Ninja Turtles game. Plot-wise, Turtle games kind of fall into that Super Mario Bros. Syndrome, where you're basically playing the same story every single time, but who cares, you're having fun!
So when we start the game, you get to pick your hero, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, or Donatello. For the most part, all the Turtles play the same. They do the same attacks and they dish out the same amount of damage. Now, after researching the game a bit, people say that there are some differences between the Turtles. From my experience though, they feel so close to being the same that I don't really see a difference. I mean, it seems Mikey has a ever so slightly longer reach, while Raphael seems a bit shorter, but all in all, I think you should be able to choose your favorite turtle and be just fine.
Some people might hate that all the Turtles play the same, but after playing the last game, it's kind of refreshing to just pick a turtle you like and them not be terrible.
After you select your character, you start the game. You start off with 3 lives and you get a total of 3 continues. However, if you input BA, BA, up, down, BA, left, right, BA, start as quickly as you can at the title screen, you'll get 9 lives instead. I do this because I think it gives the game a less stressful, more fun feeling. Anyway, you start off in a burning apartment complex and you must find April and save her. You do a basic attack with B and you can jump with A. While jumping, press B to do a dive kick. Most enemies take about 2 hits to kill. Press A and B at the same time and you'll do a special jump attack that deals twice as much damage. This move is essential to beating the game. It kills most standard enemies in 1 hit and becomes super useful against bosses. It can be a bit tricky to do, but master it and you should be alright.
So let's go ahead and go through the game. I'm going to go ahead and pick Michelangelo. When I was a kid, he was always my favorite. For some reason, I was always drawn to those comic relief characters when I was younger.
So we'll start the level and... What? Mikey's just staring at me, but his face. Oh God, what happened to his face? He looks like a goddamn Cyclops. And anytime you aren't pressing a button on the controller, they just stare at you with this blank, creepy, expressionless face. Ugh. Back to the action though. We fight some foot ninjas here. We'll see a variety of them throughout the game. Some throw dynamite, some have hammers, some throw boomerangs, and a bunch of nonsense like that. You also have some giant balls you have to dodge. If you're not careful, you'll become roadkill. I gotta say, I love the appearance of this level. The fire everywhere. It's cool. It's something that you usually don't see in video games until the end levels. It just makes it feel action-packed right from the start. So, once we get to the end, we find April in her room where she's being terrorized by some foot ninjas. She looks terrified, or maybe she's just tripping from that bong-looking object over there. Is that a bong? Wait, was that in the arcade version too? Is that a lighter in an ashtray? Maybe that's just a fancy vase. After you defeat the foot soldiers, Rocksteady will appear. Jump around and attack him, and watch out for his machine gun. He's not too hard to beat, and once you defeat him, you save April. Or, oh shit, I guess not. Now we enter level 2. The scene 2. We get some Foot Clan baddies, and we get a few stage hazards. Watch out for the holes in the ground, and use certain objects to attack enemies with. I love this part right here where you just see some babe minding her own business. Smack her with your weapon and she screams and you get a kill point. Oh, and speaking of which, for every enemy you kill, you get a point. After every 200 points, you get an extra life. The end of this level has us fighting against Bebop. His fighting pattern's pretty similar to Rocksteady's, so just do what you did before and you can defeat him. Once you do, we'll jump into the sewers. Fight off some more ninjas, and at the end we'll fight Baxter Stockman in his human form. This fight is pretty easy. He sends out little Mousers to attack you, but just ignore them and keep jump kicking and you'll eventually beat him. Afterwards, Stockman somehow turns into his fly form, and Shredder declares he'll dine on turtle soup. Now this next level is exclusive to this NES port and was not in the arcade version whatsoever. We're on the snowy streets of New York. We'll fight some foot soldiers and some evil robot snowmen. And, okay, what's the deal with this? This is like the third time I've seen the Pizza Hut logo in this game. Actually, back in the day, Ninja Turtles and Pizza Hut were like best buds. They did a lot of cross promotions. The biggest promotion though was the Coming Out of Their Shells tour. There would be events where the Turtles would play music live. Yeah, they even had VHS and audio cassettes released. That's so creepy. As for the tie-ins with this game, there's Pizza Hut logos sprinkled throughout the game, but also copies of Turtles 2 came with a coupon for a free personal pan pizza. That actually sounds really awesome. Imagine that. You buy a new game, it looks boss, you invite your friend over, you're eating pizza, you're having a good time. At the end of the snowy level, we get to fight with the alien bounty hunter, Tora. Who? He's just some bad guy that makes no appearance outside of this game at all. He's pretty easy to beat if you just keep jump kicking him. After so many hits, you defeat him and we move on. Now we're in a parking garage. Let's kick some shell, fight some more foot soldiers, avoid getting rear-ended, and at the end of the stage we'll have another fight with Baxter Stockman. Except this time he's in his mutant fly form. He shoots little lasers at you, so get out of their way when they're dropped. Do as much dive kicks as you can to swat this butthole. Now we saved April. Let's get in the turtle van and get out of here. Oh yeah! So instead of staying in the van, hey, let's get out of it and start wandering the streets. Bad guy fights galore. The next section has us on some hoverboards. Woo! We'll fight some more baddies, and we'll fight some missile-dropping goons. You'll have a few you have to destroy, and once you beat the level, your turtles get back in the van, just to immediately jump back out. Oh shit! Well, I guess we're all dead now. Or not. Splinter is kidnapped in a hilarious fashion. Oddly enough, he looks like a turtle stuck upside down. Well, let's go save him. We go through this area, avoiding lasers and fighting robots and Foot Clan members. At the end, we have a boss fight against Granitor. You can use the jump kick technique against this guy, but he'll occasionally punch you out of place. Getting hurt is a small price to pay though. He takes a lot of hits to beat, but be patient and cautious, and you can win. Splinter is saved and we continue to a dojo-like area. This level is also exclusive to the NES port. We fight some new enemies here that are a bit stronger than the Foot Clan. There's Venom, the scorpion enemy, Blade, the one-eyed jumping ninja, and there's the white tiger enemy, Vincent Von Growl. Yes, that's his real name, I'm not making it up. At the end we get a pretty tough boss fight against another alien bounty hunter, Shogun. Carefully attack this fool and eventually his head will start floating around him. He can dish out some pretty good damage. Unfortunately, I don't really have a great strategy to beat him. I just start attacking like a madman until he's dead. Once he's defeated, we find the Technodrome. Let's enter this last level and stop Shredder. There's a lot of bad guys in this stage. There's lots of Foot Clan members, lasers, machines that will freeze you, elevators with rolling balls, and a second boss fight with Granitor. Once we pass all of that, we get to go one-on-one with Krang. Surprisingly, this boss fight isn't too hard. Just do the rapid jump technique. He might hit you a few times, but you'll kill him faster than he can kill you. Destroy Krang's robot body and he'll escape. But now Shredder appears. Wait, what? 2 Shredders? So he splits into 2 and both forms are deadly. He can slice at you with the sword, but his most deadly attack is his lightning strikes that turn your character back into a tiny little defenseless turtle. This move is instant death and you'll automatically lose a life. Oh shit. So, what do? Well, I just keep moving and dive kicking these assholes. After a while, Shredder's helmet will fly off. This is great because without his helmet, he can't hit you with that instant kill move. Once unmasked, keep attacking the other Shredder until that one's mask also flies off. Now after so many hits, Shredder lets out a cry and is defeated. The Technodrome blows up and we get a rather weak ending with some odd dialogue. But what about the Shredder and Krang? Burned to toast? Vaporized to milkshake? What?
And that's the end. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. How was it?
I'll be honest, I had a lot of fun replaying this. It gave me some good nostalgic feelings. The combat is simple, but the game can still be challenging. There's several ways to attack and you'll be punished if you spam the same move over and over. If you keep jump kicking, you'll eventually get crowded by enemies and they'll beat you down. You can try spamming the A-B combo special attack, but again, it leaves you open to attacks. You gotta do the right attacks at the right time. It can get tricky, but it keeps the gameplay from getting too stale. Visually, I think the game is very charming. All the characters look pretty decent. And actually, I think it's pretty cool that each turtle got their own shade of green. Very minor, but a neat detail nonetheless. The music in this game is pretty rockin' too. Maybe not as rockin' as that, but the music is catchy and upbeat. You get to see all the major TMNT characters in this game, and it's overall just fun to play. I think it's a pretty good challenge without the 9 life cheat, but if you do use the cheat, who cares? Enjoy the game how you want. It's great.
With that said, I can't do a review without talking about the negatives.
The biggest one to me has to be the hit detection on certain enemies. I could fight foot soldiers and most bosses no problem, but flying enemies get pretty tricky to hit. I would either end up just a tad behind the enemy or just a tad in front of the enemy and I would miss my attack. This also happened a lot with those little robots with the electric whips. Sucks too since they can take quite a few hits to destroy. My other issue, and it might just be me, but I don't really understand how damage is distributed in this game. Sometimes it seems like an enemy will just hit me or knock me back and I won't take any damage at all, despite it looking like it. I can get punched without taking any damage, but a deadly hug from behind always hurts me. It's nonsensical. But with these nitpicks, it didn't stop me from having fun. I think the game is pretty damn great and definitely worth checking out. It's one of my favorite beat-em-ups on the NES. It's 2-player also, so hey, get a friend, grab a pizza and play some Ninja Turtles. You'll have a good time.
But these are just my opinions. What do you think about the game? Do you like the game? Dislike the game? Well, regardless, I hope you follow me in my next video when I take a look at the next game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project. I think Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, we're gonna continue our little trip down memory lane with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This time, we're taking a look at Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project.
Unlike TMNT 2, the arcade game, Manhattan Project was a completely original game exclusive to the NES. Developed once again by Konami, the game released in 1991 and received favorable reviews. Growing up, I only played the game a handful of times at a friend's house, and I remember liking it. I mean, I like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and this one seems very similar. I always thought the box art was pretty awesome too, despite the fact that the game doesn't actually feature any of the Triceratons.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project.
So, Manhattan Project takes place right after Turtles 2, the arcade game. Naturally. So in this game, Shredder has kidnapped April as well as all of Manhattan. Jeez, what's with everyone's obsession with the city? The Muppets took Manhattan, and so did Jason Voorhees back in the 80s. I guess Shredder's just continuing this trend. So in this game, Shredder doesn't have any big plans to destroy the world or anything. He basically is just calling out the Turtles to fight him. The Turtles end their vacation as they try to get their woman back.
Now when you look at this game, you might think, wow, it looks just like Turtles 2, but in terms of gameplay, it's actually really different.
So like before, you press B to attack, A to jump, and B in the air to do a dive kick. New to this game though, press down and B and you can flip enemies. You can launch them behind you and even hit another enemy to knock them dead. If enemies start throwing projectiles at you, you can also use your weapon to reflect them away. Pretty nifty. But the biggest game changer is your special. Pressing A and B here gives you a whole new type of special move, and each turtle gets their own. So, for example, Leonardo does the Cyclone Sword Spin. Donatello does the Knockout Roll. Michelangelo does the Kangaroo Kick. And Raphael does the Power Drill. This one is my favorite as it works well with bosses. It lets you hit them and escape. Another big difference in this game though is that these super powerful attacks cost you your HP to use. Sometimes it's worth it though. If you're having a tough time with an enemy, sometimes it's better to just damage yourself to attack them, rather than possibly getting hurt more than you would have if you didn't use your special. You can somewhat abuse the system though. You can't die from using your special, so once you're down to just 1 HP point left, you can just use the special attack as much as you want. I mean, if you get hit, you're dead, but if you're good, you can just go through enemies or even stages pretty easily. Another change to this game is the point system. So depending on how you kill an enemy, you'll get a different amount of points. If you defeat an opponent with a special attack, you get 100 points. A jump kick gives you 200, and a standard attack gives you 300. So while easily spamming specials might be a great way to kill enemies, there's a risk and reward for killing an enemy with just a regular attack. After every 50,000 points, you'll get an extra life. Another cool change in this game is that when you die, you get to pick which turtle you want to play as when you come back. I love that as it feels certain turtles are better suited for different situations and boss fights.
So there's a total of 8 levels, or scenes as this game calls it, and we get to fight in some new locations and we get to fight some new bosses.
I'm not going to go over the levels too much here because I think we all know what to expect here. Turtles fighting hordes and hordes of foot soldiers, robots, Mousers, and the such. The first level has the turtles leaving their vacation spot on the beach, where we have a boss fight with Rocksteady at the end. The next level has us surfing to some cool looking effects, and a boss fight with the mutant bull named, hilariously, Ground Chuck. He'll try to run you over and beat you with a pipe. Keep your distance and attack when there's an opening. Next level has us on a bridge, fighting stone warriors, getting ran over by Bebop, giant balls, and a fight with the enemy Slash. No, not that Slash, this Slash. He rolls around, but, you know, use the attack buttons to kill him. We continue on this stage until we fight Bebop, who is sporting a cool fancy hat.
And before I continue, let me go ahead and admit this. I have no boss strategies whatsoever in this game. I just start attacking them like crazy and spamming my specials, and it seems to work.
The next level has us on the streets of Manhattan, fighting Foot Clan soldiers, stone warriors, and evil rolling barrels. The end has us in a train station fighting the giant muted mole, Dirtbag. He attacks, you attack, bada bing bada boom. Level 5 has us in the sewers fighting off Mousers and such. We'll have a boss fight with the enemy, Leatherhead. I don't know why, but I always love this villain. There's so many awful looking mutated animal monsters in the series, and this one is my favorite. Anyway, this punk will shoot you, tail whip you, and even choke you out, so be careful. The next level has us in the Technodrome, fighting off the same bad guys we've been fighting off this whole game. At the end, we get a fight with Razor. Razor, at this point in time, only had an appearance in the second Ninja Turtles movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. His buddy Toka also appears in this game, but we'll get to him a bit later. As for Razor, he claws, scratches, and even has ice breath. He's one tough guy to beat, but once you do defeat him, it's time to fight Shredder. Shredder is brutal and quick. He swipes with his sword and does dive kicks of his own. Stay out of his way and attack when necessary. Once defeated, we save April, but Shredder escapes. Let's go after him. We go up an elevator, killing enemies along the way. We got some rooftop fights, and we eventually get face to face with Toka. Now this fight can be pretty damn brutal. Not only can he block some of your attacks with his shield, but he can knock your ass back into the neon lights and electrocute you. And worse yet, he'll gnaw on your goddamn head. Jesus Christ! Spam, spam, spam! We enter the final level now, Krang's Spaceship. In this level, we're going to fight every basic enemy we've fought before. It's a real endurance stage. At the end, we fight Krang. He's a lot tougher than last time. Krang can shoot homing missiles and shoot his fist out like an action figure. You know you're getting close to killing him when he splits in half and starts attacking you with both ends. Yeah, even his little legs will viciously attack you. As for his upper body, he can shoot lasers at you, and he even pulls out a Looney Tunes-sized mallet. He'll eventually pull himself back together, before he is eventually destroyed. Now it's time for our fight with Shredder. Oh shit, Super Shredder! My god, another reference to the movies! Now, Super Shredder is, of course, a pain in the ass to kill. He can summon lightning, and can also teleport around the screen, and will kick you when he gets close. Well, fight back, kick his ass, spam some specials. Krang's spaceship explodes, Manhattan falls back into place, and the Turtles high-five. That's it. The end.
So that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project. So, how does it hold up?
It's actually really good. The gameplay has been improved over the last game. There's a bit more you could do, like flipping enemies and having a different special attack with each turtle. It's great. The level layouts are about what you would expect for an NES beat-em-up. However, the bosses really get a chance to shine. They feel more dangerous. I like it. The music here is of course great. All these Ninja Turtle games always have some real upbeat fighting music. And visually, while it might look a lot like the last game, when you put the two side by side, you can really see that this game's better. The Turtles have better animations, though they still do that awkward thing where if you don't press any buttons, they stare at you. Ah! And also, like the last game, if you enter in a code at the title screen, you get access to a stage select, health bar adjuster, and even a sound test. Cool.
And really, I don't have anything bad to say about Manhattan Project. I mean, it's not in my top 10 NES games of all time or whatever, but it's a great game that, in my opinion, doesn't really have any major flaws.
It's a great NES beat 'em up, and I think I prefer Manhattan Project over the arcade game port, though it's really close. Manhattan Project just does everything Turtles 2 does, but more. It can feel a bit similar because, you know, the whole saving April, fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, finding and then fighting on the Technodrome, beating up Krang before having a final showdown with Shredder trope, but it's still fun. I kinda wish the game went with a different story, like the Turtles actually fighting those Triceratons on the box art, but as is, the game is great and definitely worth playing for any of you NES players out there.
But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think about the game? I also thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you stay tuned as we look at the next game in the series, probably the most popular Ninja Turtles game of all time. We're going to be taking a look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, for the Super Nintendo. Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, today I'm continuing my review on classic console Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, and today I'm looking at quite possibly the most popular TMNT game of them all. I'm talking about Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time was originally an arcade game released back in 1991. It actually released before the last Turtles game we talked about, the Manhattan Project. Turtles in Time was a 4-player arcade cabinet that was a fan favorite. Then in 1992, the game got ported to the Super Nintendo. It added in new levels, bosses, and a bunch of other features. Since this was the version that had all the bonus content, as well as being the version I believe most people played, this is the one I want to review. I think it's worth pointing out as well that in 2009, Ubisoft developed a Turtles in Time remake titled Turtles in Time Reshelled. I personally found it to be a bit lackluster of a remake, as it didn't feature any of the SNES editions, and overall really didn't add anything to the Turtles in Time experience at all, other than a 3D coat of paint.
And after playing the last two Turtle games, you might be thinking, well, what could possibly be so different in yet another Ninja Turtle beat-em-up? Quite a bit, actually. Like I mentioned already, this is one of, if not the most popular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game of all time. So, let's get to it and find out why. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. So let's go ahead and start up the game. Ooh, I still love hearing that chime.
When we start the game, we get a pretty awesome seizure-inducing intro. Then we get straight to the title screen where we got a few options. 1-player mode and 2-player mode are the regular story mode. Versus mode lets you fight against another player in a 2 out of 3 falls. And time trials that lets you beat up Foot Clan baddies in a timely fashion. And there's, of course, options that'll let you pick your difficulty, there's a sound test, and a cool color mode. You can pick between animation, which shows the typical Green Ninja Turtles, or you can pick comic, which gives the Turtles the colors of, not the comics, not the movies either, nor the cartoon. This actually seems to resemble more of the first toy line that they did, and honestly, being a kid who grew up with those very toys, I love this option, so I'm picking this.
It's such an unnecessary feature, but I think it's awesome.
So when we start the main game, you get to select your turtle, and unlike the last few games, there are major differences between all the turtles. And according to the game manual, the turtles all get different stats and everything. To give you the gist of it, Leonardo is the well-rounded turtle, with even stats across the board. Michelangelo has the highest attack and defense, but unfortunately is a bit slow. Donatello is pretty average, with his strong suit being his long weapon reach, but his downside is that he's the slowest turtle of the 4. And lastly, Raphael, who moves super fast and attacks really quick, but unfortunately has the lowest attack and defense power.
And what's interesting about this game is that I don't think any turtle is better than any other. They all play so differently, but I feel like each turtle's weakness is totally made up for with their strengths.
I found myself having a pretty good time using each turtle, so I can't really say that I have a favorite. In the end, I think I found myself using Raph more, but yeah, I don't think there's a bad turtle in the group. Anyway, once you select your character, we get to our story. April O'Neil is reporting the news when all of a sudden Krang comes down and steals a Statue of Liberty. Shredder laughs on national television while the turtles look on in anger. I like how Leo is just sitting here in his chair, yelling at his TV like an angry old man. Nah. Anyway, let's get moving.
Big Apple, 3 a.m.
So we're in a construction zone of some sorts, and we got some Foot Clan soldiers to beat up. This is just the first stage, so don't expect anything too hard. And I think now is a good time to point out some gameplay differences here compared to its predecessors. Of course, you can do your standard attacks, jump attacks, and dive kicks. You can also brutally slam enemies around like ragdolls. You can now dash in this game, so there's dash attacks as well. And yes, this is also the game that introduces the ability to launch Foot Clan ninjas toward the screen. I love it! We also get the return of each turtle getting their own special move. You know, the ones that do a lot of damage, but also hurts you to perform them.
And just an FYI, unlike Turtles 3 where you can just spam specials as long as you don't get hit, in this game, if you don't have enough health, you can't use a special, so use your specials sparingly.
So yeah, the gameplay gets a bit of a shakeup. Also, the point system from Turtles 2 the arcade game returns, where you earn a point for every bad guy you kill, and after every 200 points, you get an extra life. Back to action. We're fighting some ninjas and trying our best to avoid getting squished by, giant balls! We get a cool part here where we see Krang peeking over and trying to shoot at us with lasers. Once we reach the end of the level, we fight Baxter Stockman. He zips around the stage, but he's open to attacks. Hit him enough and he, explodes. Ah! We start the next level.
Alley Cat Blues.
It's suddenly the middle of the day and we're on the streets. There's more foot ninjas to fight before we eventually have a boss fight with Metalhead. He's not too hard to fight. His attacks are easy enough to dodge, and he leaves himself open quite a bit. Hit him enough and he explodes too! Jeez!
Sewer Surfing.
We jump down the sewers and now we're surfing. It's a bonus level, but it's also a regular level. Beat up as many bad guys as you can, including the chunky cheese pizza monsters from the cartoon. What a random creature to add in this game. After the bonus section of this level, we get to fight with the Rat King. He attacks from this vehicle, which I oddly remember having a toy of, and it shoots lasers, and Rat King will drop mines too. Stay in the upper side of the screen to dodge the mines, and carefully destroy the front of Rat King's machine, and then the rest of it. After enough hits, he's out of here!
And that whole Rat King fight wasn't even in the arcade version. In the original, Shredder would just warp you out of time and you'd start doing the time travel levels from there. But because the Super Nintendo version added more content, we get a whole new level next.
We enter the Technodrome in search of Shredder.
Technodrome. Let's kick shout.
This is pretty much like all the Technodrome levels we've seen before. At the end of the first section, we have a fight with both Razor and Tokka at the same time. Razor slices while Tokka uses Ice Breath. Razor is kind of easy pickings, so try to knock him out first, then it's just a simple fight with Tokka. They turn back into animals, and we continue. There's an elevator section with lots of bad guys, then a boss fight with Shredder. This one's kind of fun too. Shredder is in the foreground, and he'll occasionally shoot at you and try to grab you with his claws. What do? Well, you throw his damn henchmen at him. Haha! Shredder jumps through the portal and sends us into a time warp. We're getting warped to the past, like way in the past.
Prehistoric Turtlestar.
So in the past we fight, well, Foot Clan ninjas. How uneventful. There's a few dinosaurs that go by, but nothing major. We do see the return of the Stone Warriors though. God, I hate these guys. At the end we have a boss fight with Slash. Really? No Triceratons? In the arcade version, it was actually some bad guy called Cement Man, but I think replacing him with Slash was a good call, even though Slash could possibly be the hardest boss in the game. You can only really hurt him by hitting him from behind or by hitting him in midair, otherwise he'll block and swipe at you. It's really easy to get your ass kicked here. I try to transition between the top and bottom of the screen and wait for him to get close enough to where I can just attack him. Sometimes it works, sometimes not, but once you beat him, We're warped to the year 1530,
Skull and crossbones.
and we're on a pirate ship. There's nothing really noteworthy about this stage, other than the fact that you have another boss fight where you get double teamed. You fight both Bebop and Rocksteady, and they're dressed for the occasion. I like this, and I feel this is a nice addition to the port, since the arcade version had us just fighting Toka and Razor here instead. Anyway, Bebop and Rocksteady will sometimes fight you separately, and sometimes both at once. Focus on not getting hit, of course, and hit them when there's an opening. They might tangle up with each other, which leaves them both open for free shots. Each of them have their own health bar, but defeat one, and they both get defeated. Now we move on to the year 1885. Yeehaw!
Bury my shell at Wounded Knee.
We're on a moving train with more Foot Clan ninjas to fight off. Our boss here is my favorite bad guy, Leatherhead. He's pretty simple to beat. He moves up and down but is easy to hit. He'll run across the stage, so just follow him back and forth and keep beating his ass. Once he's defeated, he falls off the train and we continue warping through time. Now we're in the future of 2020?
Neon Knight Riders.
Wait, let me guess. So this was made in 1992, so they were probably thinking in the year 2020 it would be big lighted cities and hoverboards. Of course. So despite this looking like an F-Zero stage, this is another bonus-like level. So again, beat up as many enemies and get as many bonus tokens as you can to get more points at the end. Afterwards, we get a boss fight with Krang. Wait, why is he so small? We just saw how big he was before, where he swooped up the Statue of Liberty and was shooting at us from the construction zone. Whatever, let's destroy this Munchkin version. You can attack him straight on, but try to hit him from behind to avoid taking damage. Destroy him, and we're warped to the only time period that hasn't happened in real life yet, the year 2100.
Starbase, where no turtle has gone before.
You're on a starship fighting the same old bad guys you fought before. At the end, we get a final showdown with Krang. He teleports around on a spaceship, occasionally dropping robots. He'll also shoot a bubble beam at you. Freaking bubbles! The attack is pretty easy to avoid, and he's easy enough to hit. And after so many strikes, he explodes. Now let's get back to the present. 1992, and fight Shredder.
Technodrome, the final shell shock.
He transforms into Super Shredder, and he teleports all around the stage. He shoots ice crystals, a line of fire, and his infamous attack that turns you into a tiny little turtle. When he powers up his attack, he'll be surrounded by flames, Dragon Ball Z style, and you won't be able to hurt him. Wait until the flame goes out and then start attacking. He does this weird arm guard thing, but don't worry, you'll still be doing damage. Once he's out of HP, he's done for. He falls to his death. Or whatever. It doesn't matter, we beat the game. We then get a scene with Splinter, telling us that we need to beat hard mode to be considered true ninjas. And that's Turtles in Time. And that felt kinda uneventful. I beat it on normal, and this was my ending. You know what? Let's do this. Let's beat this on hard mode. And I do it. I start going through the game again. It feels like there's a lot more enemies within the stages, but overall it doesn't feel too different. Until I get to the first boss fight with Shredder. The Foot Clan soldiers I have to throw at him are now the kind that block attacks, so they're much harder to get them in position to throw them. All the boss fights from here on out are a lot tougher too. Slash particularly is crazy hard to beat. Also, Super Shredder does the same techniques he did before, but somehow he's a lot more defensive. It's really tough, but we get through. We get the proper ending, where we see the Statue of Liberty being returned. Look at this cheesy smile. We see the turtles in the blimp, the credits, and we see all the cast and all their names and all that. We also get to see Splinter declaring that all the turtles are now true ninjas. And that's the end. So, Turtles in Time, how does this game still hold up? Well, it's really freaking fantastic. There's so much I love about this game that I'm not sure where to even start praising. When comparing this game to the last two, Turtles in Time has greatly improved the gameplay, which is amazing since Turtles in Time for the SNES came out only months after the Manhattan Project for the NES. I love how all the turtles feel so different from each other. It's not small differences either, it's major, and makes each turtle really feel their own. The mechanics are improved as well, adding new combo techniques, a dash attack, and even different jumping techniques. It's great! It makes the game feel fresh. The level designs work out very well here too. Each level is a little on the short side, but that keeps the action going. The game never drags on because you're constantly being pushed into different areas and facing different bosses. The hyper beats of the music never slow down either. The music, composed by Michiko Izumi and also Kozo Nakamura, who's worked on all these early TMNT games, does fantastic work here as well. Again, the music and the action never slow down, and there's so much Ninja Turtle lore in this game. From being able to pick different colors for your characters, and the fact that there's like 12 different classic turtle villains as bosses here, it's just fantastic. Oh, and of course the visuals are great too. The characters are well animated and very expressive. Everyone in this game just looks so good. With all of this said, I don't really have anything bad to say. I suppose the game itself is a little on the shorter side. It's easily the shortest of the Turtle games I reviewed so far, but the game is fun and it does have a decent challenge, so it does have you coming back for more. Turtles in Time for the SNES is worth checking out and playing if you have the chance. This is the best Turtles game I played since doing these series of TMNT reviews. It's just so goddamn fun.
But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Turtles in Time? So, we got one more game to review. We're going to be reviewing next time Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist. Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, this is my final review of my classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games for consoles. We've already looked at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, The Manhattan Project, and Turtles in Time. Now we're going to be taking a look at the Hyperstone Heist for the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive depending on where you're at.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist was released on the Genesis back in late 1992, only a few months after Turtles in Time was released on the Super Nintendo, which was only a few months after Manhattan Project. Goddamn, what a crazy era to be a TMNT fan! Between the first Ninja Turtle game released on non-arcade platforms in late 1989, we got 3 NES games, 2 Game Boy games, a Super Nintendo game, and a Genesis game, all within 3 years, and there were still more games after that. Jeez! Strike while the iron is hot, I guess. So instead of continuing the number trend, Hyperstone Heist is not known as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 5, but is simply known as just the Hyperstone Heist. When it was released in Japan, it was known as The Return of Shredder, and I gotta say, I really like that box art. That's so epic!
But anyway, we got a lot to talk about here. I want to review this game, I want to talk about which game I think is the best out of all the Turtle games we reviewed, and I want to talk about Shredder's Revenge a little bit more. So, let's get to this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist.
So, Hyperstone Heist opens with almost the same story as Turtles in Time, but instead of Krang stealing the Statue of Liberty, the statue as well as Manhattan suddenly disappear. Turns out it was Shredder, who is using the power of the Hyperstone that he found in Dimension X. He plans to conquer the world and calls the Turtles out to challenge him. Leonardo says that they'll find Shredder with their high energy detector, whatever the hell that is, and then we start. Let's pick our turtle.
So not only does this game use the same assets from Turtles in Time, but it has the same gameplay mechanics as well. And that's a good thing because Turtles in Time was awesome.
So the Turtles play just like they did in that game. Raphael is fast, but weak. Mikey is strong, but a bit slow. Don has a long reach, but is super slow. And Leo is just well-rounded. Each of the Turtles get their own special move that deals damage but also takes damage to use. Leo does the spinning blade, Donatello does the toe smash, Mikey does the kamikaze attack, and Raphael does the jumping spin kick, which is kind of funny looking. While the core mechanics of the game are the same, some things were changed, and not in a good way. First thing I noticed is that you can't throw the Foot Clan guys towards the screen. It's been removed. Why? That was so fun. The dash attack has also been changed up. In Turtles in Time, it was either used automatically, or you could double tap left or right. Here, you have to press C, which feels awkward since the attack button is A.
So if you want to do a running attack, you kind of have to hold the controller a bit funny. Why couldn't they just do a double tap on the D-pad?
I guess you can change the controls around in the options and place dashing to a different button, but it would have been so much easier to just have the dashing work like it did before. Whatever, let's play the game. We start off in the sewers, beating Foot Clan ninjas on our way out. We make our way up to the city, fighting on a very familiar stage from Turtles in Time, before going back into the sewers. Hey, nice walking on water effects here. We'll fight off some of those flying pizza monsters, and then we have a boss fight with Leatherhead. This fight is exactly like Turtles in Time. He does little hops up and down the screen while throwing knives. Just get in front of his character sprite, smack him 4 or 5 times, let him run across, and repeat until he's dead.
Considering I had this exact boss fight in a different game, it's kind of lackluster. So let me go ahead and encourage you guys to go ahead and watch my Turtles in Time review before you continue watching this one if you haven't seen it already. I'll be making quite a few references to Turtles in Time throughout this review, which I hate to compare 2 different games, but since Hyperstone Heist uses so much from Turtles in Time, it's hard not to compare the two.
The next stage has us surfing. So I picked Raphael because he's fast, but he moves so slow while surfing. Considering his short range, I almost felt handicapped for picking him now. Anyway, dodge some trash and we'll eventually make our way to the mysterious ghost pirate ship. Ooh. Here we'll fight a bunch of not ghosts, and then you leave and you find yourself inside a cave.
Hold up! We just went on a ghost pirate ship. There was no ghost, there was no pirates. The turtles just came and left. What the hell? What was the point of that?
Anyway, the cave has nothing special about it either, except for that we got a boss fight with Rocksteady. If you see him start to charge, get the hell out of his way. Keep attacking when there's an opening, and this boss fight should end pretty easily. The next stage is Shredder's hideout. We fight more of the same enemies as before, nothing new. You'll eventually reach the inside of this temple, and then you get to fight someone new. It's Shredder's right-hand man, Tatsu. He says something about you having to defeat the foot soldiers before fighting him, but it's all a bunch of baloney. I mean, it helps to defeat some of them, but the Foot Clan ninjas are infinite, so what you want to do is avoid the Foot Clan soldiers while also getting in front of Tatsu and attacking him. He'll throw knives as he jumps away, and he'll throw knives when you're within his sight. Dodge and attack. This boss really isn't that hard. Once he's defeated, we move on to level 4, the Gauntlet. We're back in the caves, and we got some more awkward walking on water sprite work here. So in this level, after we fight some of those pizza monsters, we're going to go through a boss rush. We first have a rematch with Leatherhead. This fight feels exactly the same as before, except he's a different color. Then we have a rematch with a different color Rocksteady, and then a different color Tatsu. And that's it, since there wasn't that many bosses in this game. But wait, Baxter Stockman appears. He's in his boring human form, and this fight feels just like the one from TMNT 2, the arcade game. So, do what you did there, a whole lot of dive kicks. After enough hits, he's defeated, and we find the Technodrome. We're now starting the final level of this game. Already? Jeez. We're fighting the same old bad guys we did before. There's also machines that will freeze you and... giant balls! What's with turtle games and giant balls? At the end, we have a boss fight with Krang, and again, it's exactly like the one we did in Turtles in Time. The trick is to let Krang fly around, and once he starts shooting missiles, get behind him and start attacking. Easy fight here. We then have an elevator section before we fight Super Shredder. This is also the same fight from Turtles in Time. Attack him when he isn't flamed up. If he turns blue, watch out for his freeze attack that he'll shoot upwards. Otherwise, stand in front of him and time your jumps to avoid his attacks and then nail him with your weapon. After so many hits, he falls to his doom. He drops the Hyperstones, Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty return, and we get that cheesy Splinter grin again. That's it.
And that's the end of the game. And I made sure that I played it on hard mode so I got the proper true ending or whatever. So, that's Hyperstone Heist. How was the game? It's good. It's fun. But, I feel that the game has no soul.
So I imagined what happened with Hyperstone Heist was that Konami wanted to make a TMNT game for the Genesis, but they didn't want it to be called Turtles in Time. So they just took the assets and jumbled up some stuff to throw a game out there to try and make it seem new and different. That's exactly how this game feels, like a bad remix. It's like Turtles in Time, but less. What I loved about Turtles in Time is that the levels were short, but there were a lot, so it kept the action going. It's the opposite here. There's less stages, and they're all much longer, which makes the game drag a bit. I also praise Turtles in Time for using so many characters from the series, but in Hyperstone Heist, they only used a handful. There's of course Shredder and Krang, as well as Rocksteady, but without Bebop. We got Leatherhead, the worst version of Baxter Stockman, and Tatsu. I actually really like how Tatsu is new and exclusive to this game, but there's no Razor, Toka, Rat King, Metalhead, Fly version of Baxter Stockman, Slash, or Bebop. And it's not that I want to see all the same fights from Turtles in Time here, but it feels like there wasn't as much effort put into this game here. It feels rushed. The game doesn't really have the same presentation as Turtles in Time either. In that game, you got to see more animated level intros, little cutscenes, and more visually appealing levels. That's all gone here. All the extra modes like time trials and verses are also gone. It's just so lackluster.
With that said, it might not be on the same level as Turtles in Time, but it's still a fun game.
Taking Turtles in Time out of the equation, it's still a fine Sega Genesis game. It's a bit on the easy side though, and I say that as someone who right away set it on hard mode. It might have helped that since I played Turtles in Time the game was more familiar to me, but it didn't really get too tough at any point in time. It's still a fun game regardless though. The music is excellent and the graphics are great. It's a fine game and worth getting into if you're a Turtles fan. I just wish it would have done more to try to stake out on its own. Tatsu and his stage are the only thing that feel new, and I would have liked to see more stuff like that here. I mean, doing these reviews, every Turtle game I played got progressively better with each title, but it kinda stops here with Hyperstone Heist. It feels shallow in comparison, but if you had nothing to compare it to, it's still a fun experience on its own.
So between the 4 games that I reviewed, which game do I think is the best? I think it's quite obvious. It's gotta be Turtles in Time. It's just a great Turtles adventure combined with a fun story, great gameplay, and lots of Ninja Turtle characters. And I gotta say too, going through all these games, I'm really surprised there was no Triceratons in any of these. Or Casey Jones even. And you know, that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, Shredder's Revenge.
At the time of this video, there's only 2 trailers for Shredder's Revenge, and taking everything at face value, it looks like we got a lot in store. We see some villains we'd expect, like Bebop, Rocksteady, Shredder, Baxter Stockman, and with the Technodrome there's gotta be Krang. We also see the goddamn Triceratons! About time! We also see Chrome Dome, who wasn't in any of these games either. I like what we've seen so far because the Ninja Turtles have a huge rogues gallery, and I can't wait to see what surprise villains they haven't shown us. Also, judging by the trailer, we see both April O'Neil and Splinter fighting, so maybe they're playable as well. We see the Turtles surfing, so I think a surfing stage is a given too. And looking at actual gameplay, it looks great. It looks similar to Turtles in Time, but with some improvements. The smallest but biggest change I see is that when the turtles knock the enemies away, they stay on screen. I'm not a fan of the gameplay in beat-em-ups where you attack an enemy, they fly off screen, and you gotta wait for them to get back up and appear just so you can kick their ass again. This was also a change they did in Streets of Rage 4, which ended up being a very combo-heavy game, and it makes me wonder if the same will be applied here. It's definitely a change I'm all for.
Shredder's Revenge definitely has the potential to be the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat 'em up ever. I'm crossing my fingers and I'm hoping they go all out with this one.
I hope they add more characters than the Turtles. Like I mentioned, April and Splinter would be awesome additions, as well as Casey Jones. I'd also love to see the color mode return. The option to have them look like their toy line colors would be cool, but how about also adding like their old school comic look, where they all got the same red colored masks? Or hell, even make them black and white. That would be badass. I hope they also add some secret levels or secret bosses. Just fill this game with Easter eggs and a bunch of goodies. I'd love it to death.
But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Hyperstone Heist? Which Ninja Turtle game do you think is the best? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, that'd be pretty cool too. And like always, I thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you all on the next one.